Hello and welcome back to the SNS Football Podcast. We're back again after a shortish little break to yet again, as always, run through January transfer news, as always, and the rumours, the done deals, everything. So yeah, we're back. I think the streams now could be maybe every other day or every couple of days. That's just down to sort of a few little things we've got to do with sort of behind the scenes, but there will still be streams. I don't think there'll be daily ones. Obviously, if big news break, we might do a shorter stream to cover the news rather than a huge long one. But yeah, that's just sort of for you. As in, the streams might not be every day now; they may be every other day. But nevertheless, we'll keep the quality high as always. Morgan will be joining me in a bit, so he will be joining me to go through the news as always. So yeah, if you do enjoy the video or the stream, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 50 subscribers. Last stream was an absolutely mental one. We had, I think, 5 guests on or 4 guests on. There's 5 of us all on the stream at one point. We talked about the Man United Liverpool game, which we'll get to as well later. Transfer news as well. We covered all sorts. So if you did miss that, go and check it. It's on the channel. It'll be the latest video before this one, obviously. So go and check that out. Fantastic stream. And thank you to everyone who got involved. The FPL boys, as always, and to Reese and to Morgan, who came in a bit later on, Chelsea Morgan, that is. But we've got Villa Morgan coming on in a bit. So, yeah, we'll run through the news as we always do. Done deals going across the bottom, as always. Spoke about Slimani to Lyon, Dembele to Atletico, Jovic to Frankfurt on loan, Strootman to Genoa on loan. New one come out, I think it was yesterday, I don't think it was today. Wilshere signed a short-term contract with Bournemouth. That's obviously on a free as he got released from West Ham, or his contract got terminated. So he has signed for Bournemouth on a short-term contract. And then I think the news come out today, Mario Mandzukic has signed for free for AC Milan. I think he was in China, I believe, playing his football. Contract got ended there, and he's now signed for free for AC Milan. So they have now got Mandzukic and Ibrahimovic up front. That is a scary forward line for the pair of them, really, and for Serie A. So that's one to keep an eye on. Milan, AC Milan, but Inter as well. So Milan are doing very well in Serie A this year. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pip Juventus to the league, because that's what seems to have been happening quite recently, is Juventus winning the league every year, really. Anyway, we will go through the news from the past couple of days. Just bear with me while I try and find where we left off. Where did we leave off here? Where is it? Spoke about that. What else do we speak about? Okay, so I think we got up to sort of here-ish, I believe. I actually can't find where we left off. Yeah. Okay, so we left off here. That one we did. This one, I can't remember whether we did it or not. Okay, we'll start from here. Just sort of first one to get underway is Brighton have tied Tariq Lamptey down to a new contract. That's until June 2025. So the young fullback has signed a new deal till then with Brighton. Been massively linked with lots of clubs, funny enough, but Brighton have obviously tied him down to a new deal. I believe this deal I'm going to mention here might have some more information behind it, but the first bit of information here is the Napoli sporting director told Sky Sports that Milik to Marseille were in talks and will decide soon. the last bid from Marseille was €8 million plus €3 million add-on. I think it's a loan with an obligation to buy. Negotiations are on. As we know, Mario Mandzukic is now an AC Milan player. That is a done deal. Romano spoke about this a couple of days ago, saying that he's a free agent. He turned down bids from Turkish clubs and he'll be an AC Milan player. But obviously, that is now all confirmed. This was a couple of days ago. Dele Alli not in the Tottenham squad today. Wants to leave Tottenham. Still pushing to join Paris Saint-Germain on loan. Talks are on. Spurs are not convinced yet, but PSG won't give up on this deal as reported on Thursday. So a little bit more Dele Alli and Tottenham news, because Dele Alli and Tottenham is a hot topic at the minute to talk about for sure. This is an interesting one. We mentioned this. Phil Neville is the official Inter Miami manager. We mentioned this ages ago. He left his post sort of the England women's national team manager with immediate effect, and he is now Inter Miami's new manager. This is speaking about Mbappe and Neymar. Neymar and Mbappe are convinced they're going to stay at PSG, and that PSG is a good place at the moment for a high-level, ambitious player. We just have to find an agreement between their desires, requirements, and our expectations and means. Players like Messi will always be on PSG's list. Now it's not time to talk about it, but we're sitting at the table of those who follow the case closely. In fact, no, we aren't seated yet, but our chair is just reserved just in case. Mandzukic has been announced, and Tomori joining on loan with a buy option, so not obligation, this week. Apparently Tomori is pretty much done. Apparently Dele Alli wants to leave Tottenham to join PSG. Inter Miami new manager Phil Neville, as I mentioned. Paolo Maldini, AC Milan director, said we wanted Tomori last summer. He's always been one of our targets. He's perfect for our squad. We're working on the last details. He's joining this week from Chelsea. That was just under a day ago. And then we're going to bring Morgan in now, because this next news does highly regard him. We said for a while we hadn't had any Villa news. We had a few iffy bits and pieces, but nothing from Romano. So Morgan, in you come, mate. You all right?
Yeah, you, mate?
I'm not bad. We'll bring you in. This is what Romano has said 20 hours ago. I will just double check to see if there is anything new. There is, so I will read that out in a minute. Yeah. But 20 hours ago, Romano said, confirmed, talks open and negotiations on between Aston Villa and Marseille for Morgan Sanson. And then he later on said, Villa are confident to complete the signing of Sanson from Marseille in the next few days. Negotiations opened, also to find the agreement on personal terms. Meanwhile, Marseille are working to sort out last details with Napoli and then announce the signing of Milik. I believe that is us up to date on the Sanson situation. So, Morgan, what's your take on a fellow Morgan coming to a Villa?
It's a good one. Obviously, Champions League experience. Brilliant player, done really well in Ligue 1. A player that has he's been on Villa's radar sort of on and off, but he's always been one that we've said, like, no, it's not going to happen because of where we are. But it just shows sort of the ambition of not only the club, but, the owners, bringing in a player that's got a pedigree in a different country and, Champions League experience. And when we are a side looking for Europe next year, he'd be an awesome squad player. 26 years old as well, so he's sort of coming into his prime now. He's not a player that's at the latter end of his career. So, look, I can only really see the positives of a signing like this.
Mate, completely agree. I remember, like I've said to you all throughout this window, Villa's been very quiet. I think you mentioned a few names. Obviously, you probably know more than me around the fan base, but I think they were just rumours. Obviously, Rashika, King. I forget the guy you mentioned at Brentford, the fullback as well.
Rico Henry, yeah.
That's the one. So you have mentioned them names, but I don't think anything was really in concrete. Then the man, the myth, the legend, Romano comes out and gives us sort of bit of news on Villa and Sanson. And to be honest, I think this is a cracking signing for you.
I think
When it got announced, well, not announced, but when this got announced by Romano, I thought that is a great player for you to be signing. Like you mentioned, played for Marseille, he's played Champions League. He's a good, solid player. I think the next question is be interesting to see, okay, sort of, does he start in your team if you do get him in? Would he be a first teamer? And secondly, who does he come in for? Where does he play? Does he play where Barkley has in that 10 and push Grealish out wide? Is he more of a sitter, maybe next to a Douglas Luiz or a McGinn? So if you get this deal done, for me, that's a fantastic deal for Villa in this window. I don't think it's a Grealish replacement at all, like I've said to you. I know it was mentioned in one of the comments. Someone did, I don't know what fan it was of what team, but I just quickly seen, is this a Grealish replacement? I don't think it is in the slightest. I think they're two completely different players. But go back to that. Does he start in the first team for you? Is he in the starting 11? And who does he shift out?
I've said to you before, I don't think he gets in our first 11, if I'm being honest. I think Villa's midfield three has been the cog of our side. Even when we were poor last season, you look at the progress now that Douglas Luiz has made. McGinn has always been a phenomenal player, and obviously Ross Barkley, when he's back fit, is an unbelievable player. So for me, it's a really weird one because he's a great player, but we are going to be signing a player that, for me, it's difficult because until he performs in the Premier League, it's difficult to say that we're signing a player that is not going to come in and start for the fee, because it is going to be around 20 million. But if you're looking at building a squad, McGinn has played an awful lot of minutes, and he got injured last season, and it sort of derailed our season then. He's played an awful lot of football since he come back from injury, and he's openly come out and said that when he first got injured, he was almost forcing himself to play because he knew how influential he was to the team, and he was still only playing at 60% and playing well. So I think it'd be good to have a player like Sanson, because for me, he would be McGinn's replacement. I think those two would alternate. Ultimately, I think McGinn would probably start in the bigger games because, like he proved against Chelsea, he's more than capable to play against players like Kante. But Sanson would just be a great option to play against sides like sort of bottom 10. If he does well, he's then going to be pushing McGinn to play in the bigger games. So for me, it's only a positive, and it shows that we're carefully recruiting. Like I said before, the fact that we haven't gone in and bought 4 or 5 players again, like we did this time last January, and sort of panicked, because obviously we could have panicked with the COVID situation as well. I think it's credit to us. And look, at the end of the day, I've heard nothing bad about Morgan Sanson, and the type of player that he is seems like a Dean Smith player. So fingers crossed, like every other signing this summer, since sort of the sporting director Suso has gone, hopefully this is another one that we can look back on in a few months' time and go, what a steal this was for under 25 mil.
Yeah, no, completely agree. With this signing, you mentioned obviously talking about building a squad for Villa, and I think you've mentioned before, if a lot of your first team players, like we've seen Barkley get injured, if McGinn picked up an injury, you are basically a little bit lightweight. Obviously, you got Traore come in, and you probably got a player to come in before Sanson if McGinn was there. But then after that, it may be a bit ropey for you in terms of the squad depth you bring in. Is this signing similar to sort of a Van der Beek type signing and trying to build that squad depth? Because, I think Sanson would probably play a bit more in terms of what Van der Beek has definitely done this season. But it's a similar sort of signing, isn't it? And trying to build that squad depth and, allow players like McGinn to have time off. Because if we look to tomorrow, United have Fulham, I think, tomorrow. That's a perfect opportunity for Van der Beek to come in, and even if that's Bruno has a rest, Pogba has a rest, even if it's McTominay or Fred, one of them has a rest, you're still bringing in a class player. So do you not think it's similar to that sort of situation with Sanson if he comes in?
Yeah, I do. I think, well, I mean, the news came out earlier that Conor Hourihane has agreed a
Yes.
loan deal
Yeah.
with Swansea. So it's a weird one with Conor Hourihane because for me, I think he is Premier League quality and he's been really unlucky because I think he's been a fall in the development of Villa. The problem is that our philosophy and how we've been able to play this season has changed. Last season, we couldn't play how Dean Smith's teams usually play. Dean Smith teams, if you look at Brentford, even Warsaw years ago, they were attacking, free flowing, fluent sides. But unfortunately, when Dean Smith obviously brought us up to the Premier League, we were a year ahead of schedule. So a lot of the players that he brought in weren't really. Let's be honest here. You look at players like Bjorn Engels and Marvelous Nakamba. These aren't players that play into Dean Smith's philosophy. Conor Hourihane's a difficult one because he's gone through all the leagues. He's done so well for us. He's been such a great servant for our club, even at Barnsley, at Plymouth, years and years ago. He's been a fantastic player, but the problem is that he's not going to get minutes anymore. Dean Smith quite clearly doesn't think that he's good enough to start in our midfield. And look, if we are bringing in Sanson, I think it's a good move for Connor to go away and get some football because no Villa fan hates him. There was a section of our fan base that seemed to have it in for him a lot, but they seem to swing some roundabouts. This guy got us to the playoff finals. You know, scored an absolute cracker against West Brom in the semi-final to salvage a draw to get us back into the game when it looked as though we were going to lose. So I think he's done an awful lot for the club, Connor has, and it's a shame that he's been sort of put out the door, but it does free up that space for Sanson now. And a lot of people are sort of thinking with the Sanson signing, you look at Douglas Luiz, Villa fans are nervous right now because Man City have this buyback clause. Now, I don't know whether this is true or not, but they reckon that for 25 million, Man City at any point can just pull the trigger and have him back. And when you look at Fernandinho coming to the end of his career and Rodri not really being great for Man City, people are ultimately looking at Sanson maybe as a Douglas Luiz future replacement. So yeah, it's an interesting one, Sanson. But I'm at the end of the day, it just shows how well we've done that we can attract a player like that. Because I think Sanson, had it been in the summer, I don't think he'd have joined us. I think he'd have turned a blind eye to it because he would have looked at us and gone, "I'm not being in a relegation fight. I'm with Marseille, challenging Champions League football and in the Champions League next year." So there's got to, for me, Sanson's playing every week for Marseille as well, who are in the Champions League. There is clearly a pull factor beginning to come to Villa, and that's really good from our point of view that a player is willing to give up Champions League football for the second half of the season to come to a club that aren't in the Champions League yet, aren't in European places yet, but have the potential to in a few years' time. And I don't know whether many people are clued up on what's going on in the French league at the moment, but Marseille couldn't really say no to the money for him because of losing a lot of money with the TV deal rights and COVID massively impacting finances at the club. So, Marseille have almost had their hand forced in a sense, but it seems like Sanson wants to come to us and it's just building a magnificent squad now. And you look at that midfield and the depth in there, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, completely agree. Last thing before we move on from the Sanson situation, because it's not obviously confirmed. There's no shirt held up yet, which means things can still go wrong, as we all know. Some players have even had shirts up and it's still gone wrong. But yeah, exactly. I think of John Obi Mikel as well in a United shirt. But Morgan Sanson, obviously he's come in now and, very good signing it looks like for you, or for Villa. Was there anyone in the summer you were looking at for that central midfield role, or do you just think this has been off the cuff because this opportunity has arisen, or do you think there was someone Villa was looking at in the same sort of role for the summer, and if so, who that was?
quite worryingly in the summer, the player that we were looking at was Swift, John
Yeah,
Swift from Reading, and he had a cracking season in the Championship last year, and he was heavily linked with us in the summer as sort of to bolster our attacking midfield options and our midfield options. And I remember looking at it and thinking, if we want to push on this season, we've already bought Ollie Watkins up from the Championship. We can't afford to risk too many Championship signings. And for me, John Swift wouldn't have I haven't watched much of him. I'm going to be honest, but I think Morgan Sandson's obviously a much better player, and it seemed as though that we had an opportunity to get John Swift, and we sort of were like, no, we're happy with what we've got because obviously with Connor there, and Connor for me is a much better player than John Swift, so it weren't really a question. But I think this one has come out the blue really because the only things that I've heard is about David Brooks, which
yeah,
apparently is still on the cards, and that one is actually looking likely. Elise has died down an awful lot. I think that's just one that fans have sort of a few Villa fans have saw him playing in the Championship and gone, yeah, I think he's a great player. Let's make an article about him and see what noise it makes. But yeah, it seems to me like Sanson is going to be sort of an opportunity thing. We've been given an opportunity to get a class French talent. And hopefully, I mean, I remember Newcastle back in the day, shopping in France, getting Ben Arthur, Kabay. You know, hopefully it
Calvin as
works the
well.
same as us. Exactly. I hope it works the same as us. Shopping in the French market. But look, if a player's played in the Champions League, they've got to be a good player. The only
Yeah,
thing with that is Marvelous Nakamba played in the Champions League before he came to Villa, but that was with Bruges, and so did Wesley actually. So yeah, Sanson's hopefully if we can get it done, which from what I'm reading, it's a matter of time. It's going to be done in the next few days. If anything goes wrong, obviously that'll impact it, but it seems like that's set in stone now. So hopefully we can get him in and give McGinn a bit of a rest because he's played an awful lot of football, and it's credit to his fitness that he's still actually going. To be honest with you, because I mean his engine is a joke, but he needs a rest. You can see as the games go on, he'll need a rest. So Sanson will be a really good player to come in, and it won't be a downgrade for me. It will be a player sort of similar quality, hopefully. So we're not getting weakened in any way, which is what the case would have been if we hadn't have strengthened in this window, because you would have been looking at Marvelous Nakamba to come in.
yeah, 100%. Before we leave on Villa, I know you don't want this to happen, and you've obviously mentioned it, but regarding Douglas Luiz and, like I said, with Fernandinho aging and Rodri being very hit and miss, I mean, I don't see the hype around him. I don't think he's performed up
No.
to the standard City fans were probably expecting. Do you not think this is the deal City 100% have to do to get Douglas Luiz back, the way he's playing and how he'd fit into their system? Obviously, take away the fact you're a Villa fan and you'd hate to see him go, but do you not think City have to get this done?
He's an unreal footballer, absolutely unreal. I remember when he first came to Villa, played in our 2-1 home defeat to Bournemouth. And I remember he let the ball roll through his legs in the middle of the pitch and let Harry Wilson literally from that went and scored and put us 2-0 down in 12 minutes. And he just wasn't convincing at the first half of the season. We were all thinking, this guy's played for Man City. Where's the Man City about him? But Dean Smith said in an interview that they worked on his language because he had a massive language barrier. He barely understood a word of English. And since he's worked on his language and his communication, he for me, he has been the best holding midfielder in the Premier League from the second half of the season last year to now. Honestly, he is ridiculously good. And for Man City, if they don't come in for him next summer, I'm really hoping that Villa get him down on a new contract because he anchors our midfield so well. Like I think his work goes so unnoticed. You know, everyone looks at McGinn and Barkley when he's playing and think, oh my God, those two are brilliant. But the work that Douglas Luiz does week in, week out for us, and how he's adapted his game to be better in the Premier League. Bear in mind, we signed this guy for £14 million. You would think, like for me, I don't. This whole 25 million buyback's a joke. I would honestly be looking to sell him for 40, but I think that'd get took out of our hands. Look, I think he could easily play in the Champions League, and he's sort of Pep Guardiola's type player. And what scares me is that Pep even admitted that if it weren't for the work permit thing and him having to play a certain amount of games to get the work permit, he would have been in his plans because he really rated him as a player. So it is a worrying situation for Villa because for me, you are really going to struggle to find a player as good as him. I haven't seen anyone hold that midfield as good for Villa than probably Gareth Barry years and years ago. So, you know, it's a worrying thing, really, this Douglas Luiz buyback thing. And I think it's given every Villa fan nightmares, to be honest. I think we're all waiting for something to come out and we're all just going to go into absolute meltdown. But he's a great player, and you know, I think if City had him in their team over Rodri, I genuinely think they would be so many more points clear at the top of the league right now. He's that good, and for me, someone that was so poor in his first half of the season, like I can't stress enough how bad this guy was. You know, it was almost like him and Nakamba just played one game after the other because they were both as bad as each other. But now, I mean, Dean Smith has majorly improved him, and he's a fantastic player, and he's starting for Brazil now. He's in the Brazilian national team, who are no mugs, got plenty of insane midfielders in there, and he's starting every week for them when they have games. So, yeah, it's a scary situation, but what a player he's turned into! What a player!
Yeah, you're not wrong. We'll move away from Villa and from Morgan Sanson because I'm sure we'll speak about that again in the coming days. Because I think it's only it's only a matter of time before that comes a done deal. Real Madrid and David Alaba, it's back heating up again. Real Madrid were leading the race to sign David Alaba since the beginning of January. And today, which I think would have been yesterday now, Marca, which I think is a Spanish sort of broadcasting team, has confirmed that the deal with Real Madrid is set to be completed and he's going to join as a free agent next summer. Inter have been so clear with Tottenham. If they want Eriksen back, they have to pay for the loan until the end of the season and salary. Eriksen would like to move back to the Premier League. Also, other EPL clubs are in the race. And let's see the Dele Alli PSG decision by Levi or Levi as well. How do you pronounce it? I think it's Levy, isn't it? Don't know why I said Levi. So, yeah, a little bit of that. More David Alaba. David Alaba's pre-contract with Real Madrid is ready since the beginning of January and is expected to be signed in the next weeks. His salary will be around 12 million euros after taxes per season. Liverpool made a top bid to sign him 2 weeks ago, but his dream is called Real Madrid. Then finally, Manu Kone to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Deal completed today. Confirmed. Here we go. Final fee around 8 to 9 million euros. Kone will stay on loan at Toulouse until the end of the season. So I guess the ones to talk about here is we'll quickly touch on Alaba. Another free agent signing. That seems to be the way forward with a lot of teams this January. We've had Garcia, Alaba now. Who else have we spoken about going to Barcelona? Wijnaldum possibly on a free to Barcelona. Yeah. So David Alaba to Real Madrid, I think that's done, isn't it? I don't think Liverpool can come in and make a difference. United, either Chelsea, because they're the teams that have been linked with him. And I think put offers in, but I think it's Real Madrid for David Alaba now, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have loved Liverpool to go and get him, but weirdly, I don't think Liverpool are going to sign a centre back in this window. So you know, Real Madrid's game. I think So I think a few Premier League clubs he could have done a real job for. And I think seeing him go to Real Madrid is a bit of a steal. I think there are a few Premier League clubs that could have done with a centre back like Alaba. He's still got a lot to offer. Can obviously play centre back, left back, right back. He can play anywhere across the back line. He can even play in midfield. So he's a versatile addition to have. And with the current climate and the impact of COVID, I'm surprised that Premier League clubs haven't come in, because I know Man City in the past have sort of glimmered an interest towards him, but there's never really been any real intent to go and get him. So look, when it's confirmed, which it sounds like it pretty much is, it'll be a good addition to the Real Madrid squad, because obviously they've got aspirations to win the league this year, with Barca being so poor. So he'd be a good player to bring in for them, no doubt.
And then we'll talk about this next one, sort of a double header, sort of. Do we all remember the transfer triangle we had? I'm trying to think when it was. I think it was 2017-18 January. We had Giroud went from Arsenal to Chelsea. Batshuayi left Chelsea and went to Dortmund on loan, and Dortmund got rid of Aubameyang and went to Arsenal. And you had that sort of triangle of signings. I guess you sort of got a brace of signings there, but not for the same clubs. Eriksen possibly coming back to the Premier League and most likely Tottenham, and then Dele Alli to PSG. We've been talking about this for probably, I'd say, 10 days, maybe longer, about these deals. There's only, 12 days left of the window, I'd say. Will they get done, do you think? Or do you think any of them won't happen, and which one won't, which one will? If you had to put, say, a percentage of the possibility, of them happening, what would you say for both?
90 for Dele Alli, 50 for Eriksen. I think Ali's is imminent. I genuinely think that both the thing is, for me, both Christian Eriksen and Dele Alli got very, very comfortable under Mauricio Pochettino, and they both had liberties in that Tottenham side. And since Poch has moved on, it just proves that the attitude of Eriksen is just not really acceptable at most clubs. And Poch clearly bit his tongue with him because of the quality of the player. And the same with Dele Alli. Dele Alli, I don't know whether many people know this. I imagine they do because of the video coming out. But the video of Mourinho asking Gareth Bale whether he wants to go back to Real Madrid. And even on the Spurs documentary, he was turning around saying to Dele Alli, like, you're a lazy player. And you saw his reaction. He was not happy about it at all. But Jose Mourinho speaks the truth, and he quite clearly doesn't rate Dele Alli. He clearly saw the talent that he once had, but when you got an attitude like his, where you just don't want to work hard, and if I was a Tottenham fan, I'd want to get rid of Dele Alli, to be honest, because he was good for a few seasons, but now he's contributing nothing to the team. He's got a massive wage. He's sat there doing nothing really, apart from coming on against Marine and looking the part. Just get him off to PSG and get a good fee for him whilst he's still the age he is, because knowing Dele Alli, he's that type of player that when he goes to PSG, he would play well. You just know that he'd do well and he'd tear the French league up under a manager like Poch as well. Eriksen back to the Premier League is a bit of a tough one, because would Tottenham want him back? Because
I think Jose said he wants him back, yeah.
Because what that documentary showed to me, and I know obviously it doesn't show everything that happens, but what that documentary showed to me is a player that showed a massive disrespect to the club. And, a player that Daniel Levy literally said, we want you to stay. You are a great player. We want you to be here. We don't want you to leave. And he was destined. He was set on moving. He would not go out of that building without confirming that he was leaving, and everyone was okay with it. So if I was a Spurs fan, it'd be interesting to speak to a Spurs fan, to be honest with you, because I don't know what their take on it is. For me, he's not played much football. Is he better? Is he ultimately the question they've got to ask is he going to get back into that midfield? And for me, he doesn't. He does not at all. Højbjerg's been fantastic. Undembele has been absolutely class, and I just don't really see him being in that team. I really don't, because even players like Harry Winks for me is a decent footballer. Yes, Spurs fans might give him his hate and stuff, but he works hard and he grafts for the team. Ericsson's a lazy player like Dele Alli. They're both very similar in that they'll produce moments of magic, but they're ridiculously lazy and they've got such a poor attitude. And there's clearly a reason why Inter don't want him. Antonio Conte has got Inter flying second in the league to Milan. The two Milans fighting it out for the league. Ashley Young's gone there and done well. Victor Moses even went there and did well under Conte's first season. Like, Conte gets players playing well. He got Chelsea playing well after the whole Mourinho thing, and he won the league with them. So if Ericsson, didn't have such a bad attitude, which is what seems to be the problem, he would have been successful at Inter, because I have no doubt Conte would have got him in the team and got him firing, because that's just the manager that he is.
Yeah, 100%. To be honest, I think Ericsson back to Tottenham is more realistic, or has a better possibility than Ali leaving for PSG, for example. Because I think with Ericsson, there's interest that Jose would want him back. I think there's interest that Tottenham would probably want him back. There's other Premier League clubs that are interested in him. Inter Milan obviously don't want him. They want to sell him. They want him to go. Whereas with Ali, Tottenham are not sure yet. How will PSG structure the deal? Would it be a loan and then they buy him? Would it be a permanent move? So for me, I think Ericsson's more likely than Ali at the minute, but it just seems to be going on and on and on. But one attacking midfielder we can say is pretty much left Arsenal, because it's been everywhere for the past 48 hours, pretty much, of videos coming out of him in Fenerbahce scarves. He changed his logo to the colours. He posted pictures of, he set himself as a kid in a Fenerbahce shirt, but now himself in a Fenerbahce shirt. There's a video out now of him on the plane, arriving in Istanbul, looking very happy. And I think there was another picture of himself sort of with an Arsenal kit on, sort of being substituted for himself in Fenerbahce kit. So obviously that's Mesut Ozil. It's done, really, isn't it? We don't need to wait for confirmation. I think it's there, really, isn't it? It's all done. And to be honest, I'm just happy to see him get his move and hopefully he'll get back playing again. And be interesting to see him, what he's like over in Turkey. Obviously, he's got a huge affection for the club. So I guess from a footballing sense, it'd be nice to see Ozil playing again and hopefully be back to his best.
His media PR teams are absolute geniuses. Like, they just are absolute genius. The way that they pull off every single Instagram, every post regarding Mesut Ozil. That's the only thing that's good about it. The whole PR and how they've done it. But no, I think Mesut Ozil, he was a cracking player. And, at the end of the day, he wasn't getting football at Arsenal. I think it's a benefit to Arsenal now. 350 grand worth of wages freed up instantly. So, I can safely say that I think Arsenal will be very busy at the end of this window / the summer, because I think they'll be trying to make up for that and start bringing in the players that Mikel Arteta wants. But Ozil needs to be playing football, and it's a nice story. Being obviously a kid growing up and being a Fenerbahce supporter, it seems, or a massive follower of the club, to sort of ending his career there. So yeah, it's a real fairy tale signing, that one, which is more of a PR stunt for me than a major signing. So that's probably my take on it.
Yeah, 100%. But speaking of Arsenal, obviously, like I said, the wages have been shifted. Hopefully, well, they have stated that they wanted to move on players before getting some in. Emi Buendia, we've spoken about, is probably the most realistic sort of attacking midfielder they can get in, with Brandt looking unlikely, Draxler looking unlikely. However, Daniel Farke today come out and said he's 99% sure that Buendia will stay. He has no reason why he would leave in this window. Do you think Buendia would get done for Arsenal? Or do you think they would bring in an attacking midfielder? Because they're running out of a lot of options, aren't they, now?
I don't think they're going to get it in January. For me, Buendia is. I think Norwich are going to get promoted.
Yeah.
They're going to come straight back up, and I think Buendia is willing to give it another chance in the Premier League with Norwich. Looking at the situation, because Norwich have kept an awful lot of the players that performed in that Premier League season. They've still got Aarons. Yes, they lost Jamal Lewis, but still got Pukki, still got Cantwell, still obviously Buendia is still there. And I'm sure that Daniel Farke would have learned from the first time that they were in the Premier League. And he's had a lot of time to reflect on the situation. But look, I think Buendia is a quality player, and there's no doubt that he's a player firmly Premier League quality playing in the Championship, like Cantwell. But I just don't think Arsenal, for me, is where he should go, because I rate him that highly. I think he could go to a better team. I think he would be good for Arsenal, but I think there are many of the top sort of 5 to 6 clubs, if we're looking at like Man United, Leicester, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea. We're looking at sort of them type of sides. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them went for him. I think he'd be great at a Tottenham. I really do. I think he'd be great in a 10 at Tottenham. Allowing Dembele to sort of go a little bit deeper, and Højbjerg to do what he always does. I think he'd be brilliant for Spurs, to be honest, rather than Arsenal. I think Arsenal need an out and out number 10. Buendia's sort of a wide player that can play 10, because he's that good and he likes to cut inside and almost act as a 10 from the wide areas, which Saka sort of already does at the moment. I don't know. I think Buendia will stay at Norwich, because Norwich are going to get promoted, and Arsenal aren't exactly at the moment the most attractive club to go to. Yes, they're doing well now, but they're only a few injuries away from going back to where they were a month ago. An injury to Smith Rowe and Saka, and they've got nothing. So, yeah, I think Buendia will stay. But there's no doubt the guy's got talent. He was 2 assists behind Jack Grealish last year, 2 chances created behind him as well in the entire season. So, yeah, a massive talent, but he'll stay in the Championship for the rest of the season now.
Yeah, I think it'll be difficult for Arsenal to get that one over the line, similar with Max Aarons, that sort of player as well, because I say Norwich are doing well this season, look like they're on their way back up. We'll carry on going through the news. Schalke, they've actually signed Huntelaar on a contract until the end of the season. So the 37-year-old returns to Schalke. So that is obviously done. We will put that in the done deals in a minute. Man United will look to enter into transfer talks for Borussia Dortmund winger Jadon Sancho in the spring. That's from Sky Sports. Bayer Leverkusen and Leicester City are in talks over the €2 million transfer of Damari Gray. Now, I want to talk about this one, because if Leverkusen was to get this done, I don't know how accurate the source Sport 1 is, but if Bayer Leverkusen were to get Damari Gray over the line, I think getting him in and they've obviously got Fosu Mensah from Man United for, I think, €2 million as well. They spend €4 million on them 2 types of players. I don't see how they can go terribly wrong with that. And I think they're 2 very good moves for youngish sort of players. I think Fosu Mensah's 23, Damari Gray's 23, 24, I imagine as well, even maybe 25. I think that's some good bit of business by Leverkusen there if they get them two done. Or they got Fossey Mensah done anyway.
Yeah, I think Damari Gray is a great player. I remember watching him at Birmingham. He come through their academy, and there was all this hype about him, and he moved on to Leicester pretty quickly in his career. He sort of took no time to leave the dump down the road, and join Leicester, and he did really well at the start, and he looked like a real player, but slowly he's just fell down the pecking order. And there's no doubt the kid's got talent, and I think a move abroad would be a great move for him because I think all of us have seen glimpses of what he can do, but he needs a regular run of games and maybe going to the Bundesliga and playing in a Leverkusen side that seem to be doing well in the Bundesliga. Maybe that's the right move for him.
Yeah, 100%. I suggest we have to talk about it, seeing as it's back in the news now. Jadon Sancho, Man United again. Not huge talks of they're in concrete negotiations like it was in the summer, but talks of United opening up transfer talks for Sancho with Dortmund in the spring. Do you think? Obviously, we've mentioned on the show before about Diallo coming in, Pellistri coming in. Would United still go for Sancho despite spending out on two wingers? And Diallo, especially, was not a cheap signing. So would they still go for Sancho? And my opinion has always been, for me, I'd love Sancho at United. I was gutted we didn't sign him in the summer, but I'd still want him anyways. What I do now is you sign Diallo, you sign Pellistri, give them 6 months or the rest of the season to monitor where they are at in terms of their ability and how far they can go. If they're ready to possibly nail down a first team spot, I wouldn't go for Sancho because you've got a kid there who's been 19 or even 18 or even 20 that can play on that right wing for Man United or give competition to Greenwood on that right wing. So therefore, you wouldn't need Sancho. However, if them two aren't ready and you say, look, they either need a loan move or they need to play 23s for another season, and then we can play him maybe in, I don't know, if you get an easy FA Cup draw, you can play him in that sort of game. Then you go and get Sancho because he's the proven guy. I know he's had a bit of a slow season, but he's still, one of the best wingers in the world. Let's not get that twisted. And he would be what United have missed. And if we talk about the Liverpool game, if United had Sancho on that right wing, I thought Pogba was completely wasted there, to be honest, because why you're fitting in Pogba to play with Fred and McTominay, I don't know. Pogba's been our best player over the recent games, and you're trying to squeeze him into a team with Bruno, and Ollie's gone, well, I have to start Fred and McTominay. No, you don't. You just start one of them. You start Pogba, you start Bruno. There you go. That's how you alleviate it, and you have Pogba more centrally. So I would love to see us sign Jadon Sancho. I think it's going to be a lot tougher this summer because there's going to be teams knocking about. I know Chelsea are interested in his teammate Haaland. That will be interesting to see whether they do, quote, break the bank to go and sign him.
Please
so, yeah. I don't understand why Chelsea would go in for Haaland because I know they're struggling to score, but they need to sort out their defence, I think, as well, with Thiago Silva, possibly even they've lost Tomori now. So I don't know why they do that. But we'll talk about Sancho and Haaland now. Would any of them leave this summer? I think we know which one will probably be most likely to leave this summer. And I think that's Sancho. I don't think Haaland will leave this summer because I believe he's got a release clause next summer that could be activated as well.
Yeah.
So I think Sancho's most likely, but do you think Ethan would leave this summer? Because apparently Dortmund are already looking at Sancho replacements. I don't know who they are, but from you as sort of an outsider, do you think United could get Sancho again after what happened in the summer?
It's a difficult one because Sancho, there's no doubt his quality, but you have to like you mentioned and like you alluded to, does he fit Ollie's system, and where would he play? How would he affect the team? And
I think
you've got to put that.
but before you carry on, I think he would fit Ollie's system because there are clear similarities between him and Rashford, aren't there? And if you've got Rashford off the left, you've got him off the right. He's a natural right winger. I mean, we haven't had a natural right winger for I don't know how, probably since when Ashley Young went from right mid to right back, when Valencia went from right mid to right back. That was the last time we had a natural right mid. We've been playing Mata out there over the years. We've had Greenwood come through play there. Sanchez, but he was never a right winger. I mean, good Lord. So he's not an outright winger. He fit the dynamic that United are trying to have because, Greenwood hasn't hit the form he did at the end of last season. You clearly need another player there. And I know he's played Rashford on the right wing, but he hasn't been as good as when he's on the left. Martial hasn't been as good on the right as when he's up front or on the left. So that's always a tricky position. Pogba can't play there because we've seen that against Liverpool. I thought he was good. He did a good job, but that's not where he flourishes best. So I think he fits the bill. It's just whether United will go, okay, here you go. And apparently the asking price will be a bit lower than what they asked for last summer, because obviously another year of his contract's been run down. So I think he fits the bill and he fits what United are looking for, quick wingers, dynamic wingers. He's similar to Rashford. He's probably similar to Martial in terms of dribbling as well. So I think he fits it. And, if you have them two off of Cavani or off of Martial or even off of Greenwood up front, if you're playing him up front in a few games, because that alleviates Greenwood to then play as a striker if you've got another right winger, doesn't it? So there's options there. And I think you have to go for him. That's your number one target. Ollie didn't get any of them in the summer. I mean, Sancho, Upamecano, Grealish was 3 number one targets. He got none of them. So he has to get, considering on where we finished this season, hopefully it's in the top 4. I think we should be finishing in the top 4 after the start we've had. You've got to think he's going to get rewarded somehow with at least a signing he wants.
Yeah, I just think Dortmund are going to be very, very tough in negotiations, which I think will ultimately be the reason why it's a difficult one, because I think Dortmund feel as though, especially over the years, that they've sort of just been cherry picked. And for me, Dortmund have done really well to sort of maintain a good status in the Bundesliga, because you imagine if you take Haaland and Sancho out of that team in the space of 2 to 3 transfer windows, I mean, they've got to line up replacements. And I think when United first come round to really wanting Jadon Sancho, I don't think Dortmund had a replacement. And I think they panicked and thought, if we lose Jadon Sancho here, we're done for. Who's gonna set up Erling Haaland here? Like, we've got nothing. We've got no one lined up. We're probably not going to get anyone in. Our fans are going to go mental. We've just lost one of our best players and we're not replacing him. So I think Sancho, if Man United want to make a real statement, this transfer has to happen in the summer. They've got to go for it. Chelsea with Erling Haaland, I do not want him going to Chelsea, because Chelsea will ruin him. They're ruining Timo Werner slowly but surely. Do not want them to ruin Erling Haaland, even though I think Haaland is world class, and I think if Erling Haaland for me will go Man City, there is more benefits of going to City than going to Chelsea. City, if what happens to Aguero happens and he gets his move away, and with the injury record of him, I think, you imagine Man City with Erling Haaland up front. Oh my Lord, you're looking at 30 goals a season, and he takes literally every chance he gets. I heard some madness, like in training, he like proper beats himself up if he misses one shot. I mean, it's quite ridiculous. This is the same kid that on his Dortmund debut came in and scored a hat-trick in like 15 minutes, and everyone was like, what even is this guy? I saw some stat. Yeah. He's got 35 goals in 35 games for Dortmund. It's absolutely stupid. And I just don't to be honest, I don't want him to go to Chelsea because I think Chelsea's recruitment policy has been shocking under Roman Abramovich, and I think they just throw money at anything and see if it sticks. So I wouldn't want to see a player like him benefit a team like that because for me, Chelsea don't deserve a player like Erling Haaland, the way that they treat the transfer market and the way that they recruit. I think Haaland would be much better at a Man City for me. And yeah, like I said about Man United, they need to get Jadon Sancho because if you don't, I think it's going to be a massive failure hanging over the head of Man United. And especially if you don't win the league this year, your fans are going to start thinking, we were top of the league at the time that we could have sort of signed Jadon Sancho. Why hasn't he came in? Why haven't we gone out and gone, we're going to put 100 mil on Jadon Sancho, get him now? Because don't forget, Liverpool got Virgil van Dijk in the January transfer window. So it's not out of the realms of possibility to go and get the player you need. It might just cost a bit more. And Man United are a club that don't care about money. Let's be honest. Let's be honest here. They're not bothered about money. So it's not that. It's just I think Dortmund are being quite stern about it because what you've got to remember as well is the whole Champions League thing. Do they want to strengthen a rival? And look,
We're not even
at
in
the
the
end of the
Champions
day, I
League.
think Sancho has got to move. Well, not anymore, but I imagine Man United won't be as stupid next year in the Champions League. So that's granted that you get in it. But Sancho would strike a fear factor to Man United. At the moment, I feel as though with Man United, the reason why everyone's so shocked that he's top of the league is because of the surprise that comes in your team. Because you haven't got 4 or 5 world class players that we can say they are absolutely immense. We can only really say that Bruno and Pogba on his day and Rashford maybe on his day are world class players. You get a Jadon Sancho, it's a game changer. No matter when you sign him, he's a game changer. He will come in and scare defenses single handedly, and it will change the whole dynamic of how people view Man United. So, as if United weren't scary enough at the moment with counter attacking play under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you imagine having Jadon Sancho as part of a counter attack. I
That's what I'm
mean,
saying.
you may as well give up now if you're a team that are going to try and take the game to Man United if Sancho goes over the line. Because you ain't got a chance catching half of them forwards. But I mean, obviously, I want to talk about the Liverpool United game in a minute before I go, because I think there were so many talking points about it that I'd love to bring up. But Sancho needs to get signed for Man United. I think if you don't do it this summer, I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. We somehow have let this news come out for 11 minutes and haven't spoken about it. I've only just seen it now. So it is breaking news, and it is also a done deal. We have a done deal and a breaking news. It's not Morgan Sanson, unfortunately. So not yet.
That's never going to get done today.
So this is from Fabrizio Romano, the man, the myth, the legend. The new chance becomes a done deal confirmed. AC Milan have reached an agreement with Chelsea for Fikayo Tomori. Last details set to be sorted. Here we go. It's a loan with a buy option, not an obligation, around 30 million euros. He'll fly to Milano this week. Medicals pending. So there we go. Fikayo Tomori is basically a done deal now. He will join AC Milan on loan with an option to sign for 30 million euros. So, initial reaction, it was coming, wasn't it?
Yeah, good signing for Milan. It's only going to strengthen them. Great player, deserve more of a chance at Chelsea, but Frank Lampard just doesn't want to invest in his youth anymore. Apart from if he names Mason Mount, so yeah, not really much I can say about it. Hopefully, he hits the ground running in Italy and does what Chris Smalling has done and prove people wrong.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't think there's much to add. We knew it was coming, but we will state it again just before we take it off. The new chance becomes a done deal confirmed. AC Milan have reached an agreement with Chelsea for Fikayo Tomori. Last details set to be sorted. Here we go. Loan with buy option around 30 million euros. He'll fly to Milano this week. Medicals pending. So there we go. Before we do mention the Liverpool United game, we'll speak about Haaland again. Obviously, United have been linked with him. City have been linked with him. United were actually close to signing him before he went to Dortmund. City were linked with him because obviously his dad used to play for City as well. Leeds, he's a massive Leeds fan as well. So all these clubs are linked with him. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, all the top clubs are linked with him. You mentioned him going to City would benefit him. Do you think Haaland could end up at Man United? Personally, if we sign Sancho, he won't. But because of that connection with Ollie, because obviously he coached him at Mulder, he's Norwegian as well. I know it's Mino Raiola again, which we've had the circus with Pogba, but I guess it may have to be one of them things you have to sort of get on with. He has stated he wanted to go to Dortmund before possibly going on to a Man United or to, don't want to say a bigger club, but a bigger stepping stone, shall we say. Is United still on the cards for Haaland, or if we sign Sancho, it'll only be one of them?
I think it'll only be one of them. I don't think Haaland would go to Man United. I just don't think he would. I think, for me, the two clubs that Erling Haaland would go to in the Premier League are Leeds, because obviously he supports them, and that would be a mad signing, ridiculous. And Leeds would have to do some serious buying of other players to get him to even come. And Man City, because for me, he'd want to be the main man. He'd want to be the vocal point of the team. And when you've got egos like Pogba already, and Rashford and what he's done, and Bruno Fernandes and Donny van de Beek's gone there now, yeah, I can't see Haaland joining. I can see Sancho being more realistic.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll talk about Man United, Liverpool shortly. We're just going to run through a bit of the news that we haven't spoken about, and then we will do so. Like you mentioned, Villa midfielder Conor Hourihane has agreed to join Swansea City on loan for the rest of the season. Villa are close to signing Marseille midfielder Morgan Sanson for £16 million. Personal terms already agreed. Excuse me. Real Madrid believe this summer will be the best time to try and sign Kylian Mbappe from PSG. He has 18 months left on his current contract. Monaco are interested in signing Marcelo from Real Madrid and are willing to offer a 3-year deal worth 18 million euros. Atletico Madrid want to extend Simeone's contract until 2024, and the agreement will not be complicated to find. I'm just thinking if there's any news we haven't really spoken about or mentioned. All the stuff is about stuff we already mentioned. Christian Eriksen, Jack Wilshere, we'll mention that. Back at Bournemouth, he signed a short-term contract. He obviously left West Ham, I think, a year ago or just under a year ago. So we'll speak about that in a minute as well. Solskjaer wants to keep Lingard at United this month, despite the winger being determined to leave. I think that's interesting. I think that's, yeah, and obviously we've got the Haaland news here. Chelsea are plotting a club record bid for Erling Haaland. The Dortmund striker has a 75 million euro release clause that can only be activated in 2022. So the German club will demand a much higher fee this summer. Danny Drinkwater has gone on loan to Kasımpaşa in Turkey, on loan from Chelsea. Move there. And then I think to end up on this bit of news, or in fact, two bits of news, we'll end up on the first one. There's both Arsenal news. Barcelona, PSG, and Juventus are all chasing Hector Bellerin. And the other one is Arsenal have already started planning for the summer by lining up an offer for Shakhtar Donetsk winger Mano Solomon. So we'll speak about that. We've also got, just quickly, Sevilla have rejected a 25 million euros plus 5 million euros bonuses offer from West Ham for Moroccan Youssef El Nesri. I think I pronounced that right. Discussions over the transfer continues between the two clubs. So I guess to look out for, I suppose, this window is West Ham and a striker, obviously losing Haller. Jesse Lingard's one to look out for this window. Dele Alli, Ericsson, maybe Arsenal and an attacking midfielder. But we'll speak about Jack Wilshere quickly. I think that's sort of the right move for him to get back into it, isn't it? Back at Bournemouth, where he was obviously on loan for a season. Championship football, they're obviously high flying in the Championship, so that's a good move for him just to sort of work his way back from injuries and back into football itself.
Yeah, Tyndall's been really impressed with him. So, yeah, good signing.
Yeah, completely agree. Mbappe, obviously, news. It's going to be huge news. Do you think he will sign a new contract at PSG, or do you think this summer or next summer he is off to Madrid, and then possibly Haaland could follow him the year after or a couple of years after? Do you think bringing Mbappe into the beginning of their rebuild?
I'd be very surprised if Kylian Mbappe left PSG. I think until if Neymar was to make a move, potentially, but no, I can't see Kylian Mbappe moving. I think with Poch going there as well, there's a massive pull factor to stay at PSG now and not move on.
Fair enough. I think like you mentioned, the Poch factor is an interesting one because you got a top quality manager there, and he's if he wants you to stay, you might just listen to it. But like we said, we will talk about Man United Liverpool now. I'll let you go first because I believe you have some sort of points you want to raise. Obviously, the game was a nightmare for me to watch, I think, because I would have gone about it a different way if I was Man United manager. However, at the end of the day, the game plan worked, apart from the fact we couldn't score one of our two good chances. But I'll leave you to start on the game, Morgan. So the floor is yours.
I'm going to have to try and condense this down because of how much time I've got left. But look, I said to you straight after the game, I thought it was a very tactically naive performance from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. For me, man, you are never going to have a better chance to beat Liverpool. They had two centre midfielders playing at centre half who I both thought did exceptionally well. But Liverpool was so weak. Salah and Mane were terrible. Firmino was even worse. Shaqiri actually did quite well in the first half. Liverpool did really well in the first half because I thought the makeshift team that they've got, they're playing some good stuff and they're really putting the pressure on Man United. Man United couldn't string a pass together in the first half. Really struggled. But in the second half, how United haven't won that game. I mean, Bruno's chance, Pogba's chance. Alisson has had a worldie of a game to keep Liverpool in it. And if only Ollie hadn't have been so naive in his tactics, you'd have won that game. I just thought it was a very naive performance and a very safe performance. And look, I think your back four was tremendous. Luke Shaw was incredible. Honestly, he was incredible. Man of the match by a country mile. Absolutely incredible. Maguire and Lindelof. I know there was a lot of questions about Bailly not playing, but those two were excellent as well. I thought it was a case of Man United being structured so well that Liverpool just couldn't break them down. But ultimately, I would have loved for the last 15 to 20 minutes for United to have just gone for it because Liverpool are absolutely shattered and they're not the same Liverpool. And, at the end of the day, had Ollie's tactics been different if you hadn't have been 3 points clear in the same amount of games before the match had been played? I don't know. But it just felt like a very safe performance. And I feel as though Man United have played a lot of safe games this year, which is what has disappointed me. Even Mark Goldbridge got a picture of all the games that you've played against big sides this year, and you drew 0-0 to Man City, 0-0 to Chelsea, lost 1-0 to Arsenal, drew 0-0 to Liverpool. You're not scoring goals in big games. Tottenham 6-1. The big games, United have not performed this year. And that is testament to something that I was speaking to you about off camera, which was Bruno Fernandes and him being, let's be honest here, completely ineffective on Sunday. I thought if he'd have cut, I said to you, didn't I, when I came on last, it's now time for him to step up. This is the game. If he steps up in this game, you will win. And for me, he really didn't. And I think he did let you down in that sense because McTominay had a phenomenal game. And I'm someone that's gave him a lot of critics. Thought Pogba was good in stages, Fred was okay. But them are the games where like people are looking for Bruno to prove that he's world class. Them are the games where, and I hate to keep mentioning it, but Grealish at the start of the season put 2 goals past them and got 3 assists and completely tore that Liverpool back four. Bear in mind, it was their strongest team as well. They didn't even have injuries at that point. I just think, it's a difficult one with Bruno Fernandes because, like I've said to you, I feel like people have an agenda against him. I think he's a world class player, absolutely brilliant, and arguably one of the best in the league. And I think people just hate on him because he's done so well and he's set his standards that so high. When he doesn't perform, people are so quick to criticise him. But the reason why all them pods ago that I said, in my opinion, that Grealish was better than Fernandes is because of consistency. For me, Grealish hasn't had a bad game in God knows how long. I can't remember the last bad game he's had or a game where I thought he's been off today. He hasn't been that great. Like I mentioned on the message, Palace at home, Chelsea at home, Man City at home, Tottenham at home. That's just off my head. Arsenal at home. Them 5 games, he's been non-existent, absolutely non-existent. And that, if he'd have turned up in them big games with the type of influence that he can have on Manchester United, you would be 10, 12 points top of the Premier League right now. And I know he's done so much, but he's got to start turning up in big games and he's always going to get shot at if he's non-existent. He gave the ball away 19 times on Sunday. That ain't good enough. Like, for a player of his quality, that is nowhere near good enough, especially not playing against the best Liverpool side that he could have played against. He's playing against the midfield with Xherdan Shaqiri in it. There's no Fabinho in there. There's no Henderson running that middle of the park. So I think, look, players have bad games. We all know that. We all know that there will be a stage where Grealish has a bad game. There will be a stage where De Bruyne has a bad game. I remember De Bruyne missing a penalty. I can't remember who it was against now, but misses a penalty and Liverpool, I think, and completely, and just had such a poor game. But at the moment, if you dissect sort of Man United season, for me, Bruno has had, out of, I think, 18, 19 that you've played, he's had 4 or 5 bad games. And to be a proper world-class consistent performer, you've got to have 8 to 9 good games out of 10. And he's fallen short of that a bit. That's because I was looking for him really in this game to, be the difference. And he nearly did. Even when he played, I said to you, even when he plays bad, he still creates chances. That's what's good about him. That's what makes him that world-class player is. Against Villa, for me, he was so ineffective for 89 minutes. He barely touched the ball, but he had that one opportunity, which was the penalty, and he had a shot that was well saved onto the bar by Emi. It's them moments that he's quality in, but he does. That's the part of the game now that he needs to take to the next level. And I hope United fans sort of see that because, I'm not trying to be overly critical of him. If I was a United fan, I'd be bitterly disappointed with his performance because now you didn't get the 3 points. If City beat us tomorrow and they win their other game in hand, they're top of the league. So, and I think they will beat us, to be honest. And if I can recall, their next game's well easy as well. So, I just wished Ali would have went for it. I felt he was so naive in team selection, and oh man, if he'd have brought Greenwood on earlier, why bring Greenwood on with 5 minutes to go? What's he gonna do? What is he going to do?
Yeah, no, I agree. Before I do have my input, we have more news, breaking news. Jean Felipe Mateta, I believe I pronounced that right, has arrived in London to complete a medical at Crystal Palace. The Mind striker is set to join on an initial loan with an option to buy. That is from Sky Sports. So more
He had
breaking
a good
news.
season as well. Mateta had a good season, so that's a good signing for them.
I think they needed one of that, didn't they? But talking
Yeah,
United Liverpool, I was absolutely fuming at our performance because I do feel we didn't go for it enough. We sat back too much. I know you got to
yeah,
sit back a little bit and soak up a little bit of the pressure, especially away from home. But that, like you said, that Liverpool team was there for the taking. They had two defensive midfielders at centre half. You have to go for it. Pogba on the right was completely wrong. Like, I don't understand why that was even a decision. To be honest, I thought Fred and McTominay were average. I didn't think either of them were particularly spectacular. I think the game was screaming out for Van der Beek. You know, the game was all about keeping hold of the ball. United gave the ball away too many times. It's all about keeping hold of the ball, having quality on the ball. And Van der Beek, like I mentioned many times before, he can do that box-to-box role that McTominay does or Fred does, and he's got better quality on the ball. So it was screaming out for someone like him to just be calm, or even Matic, come on, be calm on the ball and keep hold of the ball. But like you said, United should have gone for it more, should have got the win. And I know, looking back on it, Sir Alex Ferguson teams have gone there and played like that and got a 1-0 win or drew 0-0 or got a draw, and it's been an all right result. You haven't lost, and we haven't lost. That's a positive. And we kept the clean sheet. The back five, like you said, were fantastic. Wan-Bissaka pocketed. He was Mane on that side. Luke Shaw was unbelievable. Had Salah in his pocket. Maguire and Lindelof. I was disappointed not to see Bailly start, but thought Lindelof and Maguire were fantastic. De Gea didn't really have a lot to do. That shows you Liverpool didn't create either. But it come down to three chances that United should have won the game, and United had the best three chances of the game. Bruno Fernandes should have put his boot through it and broken Alisson's goal. Pogba should have put it anywhere apart from right down his gullet. And then when Rashford has the chance to slide Cavani in, he has to slide him in, because if you then carry on watching, Cavani is open. Fabinho was following Rashford, obviously, and I can't remember who the other defender was, probably Robertson, follows Rashford, so Cavani's open. If he slides him in, I would have put money on Cavani finishing that. So they're the three chances United should have taken. And look, we take one of them, it's a fantastic result, and we're free. We get another 3 points in a big game. But that was the time to beat Liverpool. Injuries, two CDMs playing at the back. They had Shaqiri playing. Their front three's not firing. Liverpool aren't firing. They haven't scored in, I think, is it 3 games now they haven't scored? Newcastle, Southampton, Man United, they haven't scored. But going back to Bruno, just to sort of wrap up the Liverpool game on, he didn't deliver goals or assists, neither the performance either. But with Bruno, we don't care if he doesn't play well. If he gets a goal or an assist, even if it's a penalty, we don't care. He's still contributing to basically winning us the game or getting us something out of the game. But then, same with Burnley. He didn't play particularly well against Burnley and didn't get a goal contribution. Same with Liverpool. And he does need to start turning up in the bigger game, because I've said this before. He's been unbelievable in every game we've played. Last season, he got an assist against Chelsea, assist against City. Try to think, who else did he play? He didn't play Liverpool. He didn't play against Arsenal. Who else? Scored against Tottenham. So he scored against Leicester, who obviously up thereabouts near the end of the season. So yes, he's not really contributing in them games, but what I will say is you also have to look at, and this isn't me deflecting the blame off of Bruno, you also have to look at the top 6 teams we're playing, and a lot of their players aren't contributing in the big games either. Like you said, Chelsea 0-0. Where's Havertz? Where's Werner? Where's Pulisic? Where's their players that are meant to be getting the goals and assists? Arsenal, minus the penalty, Aubameyang was terrible, and he has been ever since. Lacazette hadn't cut the mustard, but he has been recently, but he didn't then. Who else? Liverpool, Salah, Mane, Firmino. Them three are world class. They've won the league, they've won the Champions League. They're world class, and they're not contributing in the Premier League, let alone against Man United. They aren't contributing against Southampton, Newcastle, Man United. So, look, you have to say players have dips in form. And
definitely.
Bruno scored twice against Everton and got an assist. The Everton were, in the Kazoo title race with you, weren't they? So, you can't. And I sent you a video as well, we mentioned that Bruno doesn't score much against the top six or the top six or the traditional big six. But the video I sent you in the games he scored against in the top six of the teams this season, like your Evertons, like your Leicesters that have been up there, he has done relatively well. I can't remember the exact stats now. I don't know whether you can, probably not, because, it's a video. It's not easy to sort of pinpoint. But I think with Bruno, like you said, he set standards so high. He's been so unbelievable to our football club because he's rejuvenated it, not only on the pitch, but psychologically off it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
When he has a bad game, we do go, okay, he didn't turn up in this one. However, he'll probably play tomorrow because despite him possibly needing a rest, he'll say, I want to play. That's his attitude. He wants to play every game. And you've seen him when he got took off. He was, oh, mate.
That's what I like about Bruno Fernandes is that we've heard about the whole Maguire thing and him calling out Maguire for not being a leader. Bruno Fernandes is a leader. You can tell that he's come to United. Yeah, he's come to United and he's gone, you've got an ego, you've got an ego, and you've got an ego. I'm better than all of you lot, and I'm going to show you how much of a difference that I'm going to make to this team, not only on the pitch, but off it. No one can dispute what he has done to Man United. He's turned Man United, for me, into the most average side in the Premier League. Players like Lingard, Pereira, Daniel James, McTominay back then. I remember I watched an old kickoff video and you lost to West Ham early on in the season. Can't remember what year it was. It might have been a year or two ago. And the team you played was so average. It was like Mata, players like that. And I just thought, look at where United are now compared to where they were. Bruno Fernandes and his transformation of Man United, I mean, he's easily got to be in Team of the Year, hands down. And I think Player of the Year quite easily. If we're looking at an annual year, quite easily Player of the Year. 100%.
I think he was Player of 2020. I think, for Christ's sake, he come in at January, and I think he got into Team of the Season last year, didn't he, or something? For some, whether it's for BBC
there was a bit of an uproar amongst the Villa fans and the Villa faithful because Grealish didn't even get in it last year, which was just an absolute disgrace considering Kovacic got in there last year. But I'm sure Grealish will get his this year. But no, he has been the player of 2020. I'd probably say Grealish is definitely up there. But look, you have to consider the position that he's took Man United from. I think Bruno and Grealish are always going to be compared because not only are they sort of the same type of player, but they've also done similar things. Grealish dragged arguably one of the worst Villa sides we've seen in the Premier League to safety somehow. Bruno Fernandes dragged arguably one of the worst Man United sides we've seen in the decade into one of the most exciting and promising. So it's amazing how he's come in and done what he has. And like we've said, he's set his railings that high. I think he's got to a stage now where, like Grealish, he's got to perform every game, and he is there to be shot at. And that is something that Bruno should thrive off, because I know Jack thrives off it. You see it in his face when people are so up for playing against him. I think it was West Ham. Soufal. I thought, you know what, he'll give him a battle today. And Grealish was nutmegging him, making him look stupid. And you could tell that he loved every minute of making mugs out of people. And he manages that expectation really well. And Bruno, I feel like he's getting to that stage. But it's so frustrating because Ollie has the tools. This is what people criticise him for.
He's to go and win the game. You had to go and win that game because we haven't
to stop
for a while.
Yeah.
No one's won for a while. Go and win that game. That's your chance.
He's got to stop in big games being naive. And if you look at your performances as well as your results, as well as your results in the big games, the lack of goals, just Man United have one of the most scariest attacks in the league. I remember when you lot came to us at the back end of last season when we were doomed, and you had Greenwood, Rashford, Bruno, Pogba, all on the pitch, and I honestly crapped myself. I genuinely thought we are going to get beat 6-7-0 here. Martial. I remember when you were beating Bournemouth like 6-2 and putting screamers in the top corner, Greenwood scoring absolute worldies, and I thought, United with their firepower, if they can just get that defending right next season, they'll be a real force. But I feel like in the big game
this season, we've had a very good. Well, we are where we are in the league, and Greenwood hasn't been firing. Martial hasn't really been firing. Cavani's been in and out of the team, scoring goals here and there. Rashford's been pretty good. Fernandes has been, very good. Pogba's been, in and out of the team as well, contributing. So we've had really Greenwood and Martial not hitting the form they had last season. So if they did, God knows where we'd be.
Well, that's the thing, and I think for Ollie to become a better manager and for people to actually rate him, the big games is where he has got to start being a little bit more meaningful and stop being so naive, because it will come a point where all of these results will count against you. Yeah. Because sides like Man City do not care at the moment. They do not care who they're playing against. I'm expecting us to lose 3 or 4-0 tomorrow. Honestly, I think they'll batter us, especially with what's happened to us. I think they're going to steamroll us.
Even the City game was 0-0 in the league. I know in the League Cup it's 2-0, but in the League Cup, Stones and Fernandinho scored. You didn't see De Bruyne scoring. In the league, it was 0-0. You had De Bruyne, Foden, Sterling has been non-existent in them games, and he don't get a stick, does he? So I think there's so much attention put on Bruno because everyone sees him as a penalty merchant and a 5-yard passer. So I think
he gets unfair criticism.
Yeah,
we have very unfair criticism
on the United Liverpool front. Before we go, because I'm going to head off as well. If you have enjoyed the stream, please make sure you do like it and subscribe. Follow our Twitter for all the transfer news when we're not live. It's all on there, so make sure you do. Just Romano's come out and spoken about the Mateta news on loan. He's on loan until 2022, so that's a rather long deal with an obligation to buy around 17 million euros. He turned down 2 bids from Italian clubs and will sign for Palace tomorrow. Medicals pending. Here we go soon. So turned 2 bids down from Italian clubs to join Palace on a rather long loan as well. It's
interesting one, that.
Very interesting.
Palace just can't. It's so annoying with Palace because they can't catch a break, man. Benteke just, it hurts. 2 players in Benteke and Ayew that were so good for Villa, even because Ayew was in the team that went down. He was in one of the worst Villa sides ever. But he was the bright spark. He was actually a good player. You could tell that he was a decent signing. I remember his goal at Newcastle, whipped it top corner. No doubt he's got talent, but Palace seem to just have so many average strikers, and they get to a stage where they're like, we'd rather just play Zaha up front.
They come back down, don't they? Like I remember when Benteke first Palace, he was scoring a brace against Liverpool at Anfield, and I think he celebrated I don't know if he did, but they all
Yeah,
have
of course he did.
they all have good bits of form. Ayew last season was like first name on the team sheet. Now he's on the bench.
Yeah.
Zaha has gone through sticky patches, so they do have their dips in form, don't they?
Yeah, they just can't seem to find one striker, can they? I mean, it's a weird one. It is a really weird one with Crystal Palace because
Yeah. Speaking of Palace as well, Max Meyer has left and terminated his contract as well. Do you not feel keeping hold of him could have helped them create more chances and create more goals going forward?
no, I don't. I have one sole Crystal Palace mate, and he didn't want Max Meyer anywhere near Crystal Palace's future. He did not rate him at all, and that's all I can go off really. He sort of looked like similar to Buendia, quite small, wide player, really tricky feet. Looked as though he got something about him, but it just hasn't worked out. And I think Palace is just a very stern side. Like Roy Hodgson has got a quite evident playing and player philosophy. And I think in his player philosophy, he just likes physical players. In his 4-4-2 style, which is what he predominantly plays, you need, like Burnley, you need to have sort of strength all over the pitch and you can't really have a weak link. And I think a lot of Palace fans abused Maya for being a weakling and being the player that got picked on every week. And he just didn't really get a run of games, to be honest. So, I mean, there was a lot of promise when he come from the Bundesliga, but at the end of the day, it just hasn't worked out. And it was a bit of a weird move in the first place because he was linked with some of the bigger sides, if I can remember. And then it just randomly come out that he went to Palace. But Mateta coming in, that's one to watch because he has been hitting form in the Bundesliga for the last few seasons. So it'd be interesting to see how he can adapt to the Premier League and hopefully get Palace firing again because they've sort of derailed the last few weeks, which is sort of it's early for what they usually do. They sort of derail last 10 games when they're already safe.
Yeah, I was gonna say when they're safe, they usually do. Yeah, but yeah, just to finish up on, obviously United Fulham tomorrow. Like you said, you've got Man City. Quick score prediction. You said you're not expecting much. Personally, I want you to do us a favour, if you don't mind it, if it's not too out of the way. I'll get the United one over quickly. You have, like we said, the game against Liverpool, it's not a bad result if you win your next games. If you draw, then you draw again and then possibly lose and then draw, then it's a bad result. So if United win tomorrow, life will move on as usual. And I think we do need to get over that game quickly because, we need to start getting some wins again. So I'm going to go 3-1 Man United. I think because we, should have scored against Liverpool, I think we'll go all guns firing and put quite a few away, but then possibly concede. So that's what I'm going to go for. 3-1 Man United against Fulham. And to be honest, mate, hopefully you can do us a favour against City. Oh, we might have lost Morgan from the stream. Oh, it looks like Morgan's a bit non-existent. So may have to see what happens. Yeah, he's dropped out. See if he comes back in quickly before we go off. But yeah, if you have enjoyed, please make sure you do like and subscribe as always, and let us know what you do want us to talk about. Because, like I said, we're open to talking about most football transfers. You're back, mate.
Oh, mate, it's just absolutely done me over my laptop.
That's all right. Go on. Score prediction for City tomorrow. We need you to do us a favour, but you're not confident, are you?
The reason why I'm not confident is because I really don't know what Villa team's going to get put out. Like Dean Smith has come out in the last few days and said, look, we've got mostly a full strength side. We're going there to win. We're going there to get our season back on track. No one's going to give us a chance, but that's what the beauty of Villa has been this season. The players are going to be fit. The players are going to be ready. The thing is, when the last lockdown hit, which just gave me a lot of confidence, the training program that Dean Smith did and the work with the players that he did over the internet and in that climate was nothing short of phenomenal. It kept us in the Premier League. So I'm hoping he can work wonders and lightning can strike twice. And, the same sort of thing has happened now. It just ultimately depends how much them players have managed to get out of training in the last few days. Look, we haven't got a tougher game at the end of the day. And if it does mean that we lose, it's a game out the way with Man City away that no one really is going to give us a chance of. But look, we went to Man United and did phenomenally well when everyone thought we were going to get battered. So I've said that we're probably going to lose because if I'm talking with my heart and my Villa hat on, 2-2. But if I'm thinking with my head, we're probably going to lose 2-0. But I'll go 2-2 just to be positive because I'm always positive about the Villa. And United will win 2-0. I think you'll be on for a clean sheet, even though Fulham have been looking good recently. I think United's defending, especially against Liverpool, if they defend like that again, Fulham ain't got a chance of scoring. Because I think Shaw and Wan-Bissaka were absolutely brilliant against Liverpool. So if they can keep that standard up, you can more than capably beat Fulham. But that is a banana skin for you lot. I don't think you should be too focused on what we're doing, to be honest, because I think there is more chance of Fulham shocking you lot than us shocking City with how things are going, because City can't concede. City seem to not be able to concede a goal at the moment. I know they're not playing great sides, but I can't. I would be very surprised if we went there and put 2 or 3 past them. I think we'd get 1 at the least. So, yeah, I think United just need to get the game out the way with because Fulham are doing really well at the moment and they are showing real signs of progress and they've got some quality players. So I think you'll do them 2-0 though. I think you'll have enough quality and Bruno commonly turns up in these games. He needs to turn up in this one. This is another massive one because Fulham are fighting for their lives and playing really well at the moment. So he needs a goal and assist, especially for my fantasy as well. I've trusted him for a double game week. Finally put him in my side as much as it pains me to do it. Bruno and Grealish in the same team and he needs to do something.
Believe me, I hope Donny starts tomorrow. I think he's due a game, so I hope he gets somewhere. I don't know where, but I hope he does. But yeah, I'll go with a 1-0 for your game. I think you'll give a very good account of yourselves, and you might nick a draw out of it. But who knows? I reckon that could go either way. But we will end it there. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate your time as always. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow the Twitter, as I mentioned before. All transfer news we don't speak about when we're live will be on there. So please go follow that. It also tells you when we are live and what's going on. Like I said at the beginning, the streams may not be every day now. They may be every couple of days, just so we can, get the transfer news going and, have a bit of a longer stream rather than maybe a half an hour one. But if any news does break, we might do a quick little stream. We'll have to see how it goes. But Morgan, unless there's anything you want to say, we will finish there, mate.
Just 2 things. Up the Wayne Rooney, beating Bournemouth at home. 1-0. Derby County at the moment. And West Brom seems to be doing all right, actually, at the moment. Gladly losing to West Ham, though. Up the Hammers. Relegating West Brom. Love that from Mikel Antonio and Jared Bowen getting on the score sheet. So apart from that, let's hope that Chelsea lose tonight so that we can see a meltdown on social media.
Could be interesting, couldn't it?
About Frank Lampard, because I actually think they're going to lose tonight. I actually think that Leicester are going to beat them. So hopefully, fingers crossed, there's a meltdown tonight, because we're due one. Arsenal aren't doing bad at the moment, so we're due a meltdown.
Oh, fantastic. So I guess we'll end on that. Once again, thank you everyone for watching. We will see you in the next one with all the January transfer news, football news, and all the rumours. So we'll see you in a bit. Thanks for watching, guys.